Okay, welcome to the Run Good Lifestyle, the Sportsbook edition, and going to go over the college football playoff situation. And for Buckeye fans, obviously, tough day, tough night. We'll get into that a little bit, but have some thoughts. And you know, the sun came up this morning. We are still in the college football playoffs, and if we don't get the 2 seed, it's a crime. Playing a game that close with a team that I feel is honestly better than us right now. And they showed it. It just seemed like it was a more convincing win than the score actually showed. But after I looked at the stats, everything was pretty even. Yards passing, yards rushing, first downs, all fairly even. 2 missed field goals, 1 for each team. So I feel like these are the 2 best teams in the country. That being said, Georgia's totally dismantling of Alabama was pretty impressive. Either Georgia's a lot better than I gave him credit, or Alabama is not as good as the committee gave credit to. Get into that a little bit later. But first, let me just run down the top 12 in the playoffs as I see it, and I'll explain why as we get further into it. Obviously, the number 1 and 2 seeds, Indiana, Ohio State. I don't think many people will have much arguments with that. You know, I've heard that Georgia should be 2, Ohio State 3. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm a little bit of a homer, but I just feel like Ohio State deserves a 2 with the game that was played there. I think either one of those teams would have been 1-2 regardless of the outcome, winner getting it. Number 3 and 4 didn't change, in my opinion. Georgia, Texas Tech. Texas Tech really just dominated BYU. So, in my opinion, BYU's out, unfortunately. I mean, I just don't know how you put both of those teams in, and I don't think BYU... Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, BYU's... I think they had a great season. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that was a playoff game, play-in game, however you want to look at it. So number 5, the 5 seed Oregon, number 6 seed Ole Miss, and again, I think that's a little high for them, but maybe not. I think Texas A&M should have got the 6, and it's a big deal, in my opinion, just because who they get to play. But Tulane, well, we'll get into that. So Texas A&M 7, Oklahoma 8, Miami 9, Alabama 10, and I'll explain why I feel that way. Tulane 11, and James Madison rounding out the top 12. And before I get into the brackets and my bracket, and I know the official one comes out at noon, but I'll be interested to see how that comes out. I'm pretty excited to see how that goes. But let's just go over the games and just some of the takes I had. I mean, I watched college football all weekend, and I played poker. So, and what a better way to spend a weekend, playing poker, watching football. Just I guess there's some other things that could be great too, but very happy to be able to do those two things I really like to do. So all right, let's start with the James Madison Troy game. The game was a lot closer than the score showed. A couple late scores made it look worse than it was. I know it was 17-14 going into the fourth quarter. And, you know, it was even though it felt like James Madison was the better team, it also was, you know, still hanging in the balance. So, you know, the game was closer than the score. Still, I just felt like the whole game, James Madison was in control. They're able to run the ball. It'd be interesting to see how they do if the committee puts them in the playoffs, which I feel they should. Especially with the Duke win. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, I feel like their offense is pretty strong. Wayne Knight, the running back, he was the star of the offense. You know, he was running the ball really well, I thought. And I thought their offensive line really, I won't say dominated, but they definitely controlled the line of scrimmage. But the real story, the story of that game was James Madison's defense. They held Troy to minus 26 yards rushing. That's pretty dominating. So, and I know the quarterback got hurt, which really limited. I think his name's Goose Crowder, got hurt, and that really limited Troy to have the ability to get the ball downfield through the air. And so they just loaded the box and just, you know, they just called something. They saw it coming and really took took control of the game. So with, like I said earlier, with the Duke loss, I just believe that puts James Madison in as the 12 seed, and I think it should. So hopefully the committee sees that. I just feel like they should be rewarded. I just don't believe Duke is worthy of us. I'm not saying the problem with this is it's so subjective, and I don't believe it. We're getting the actual 12 best teams, but with the criteria set for the college football playoffs, James Madison's in, but so should Duke, which doesn't deserve it. So anyway, I think James Madison's in with the Duke loss, and they're going to play Oregon, which I think is going to be an interesting matchup. I feel Oregon's the better team, and but I think James Madison has. I think it's a matchup where James Madison has a chance. So we'll see. We'll see how that, and maybe that doesn't even come to fruition, but that's my take on that. Tulane, North Texas. Was surprised that both of these teams I thought they were both really good teams. And the eye test tells me that either one of those teams, whoever won that game, should be in the playoffs. And even though, Tulane won the game, obviously, and Tulane had 21 points off of 3 turnovers. And North Texas had 5 turnovers overall, so hard to win games with 5 turnovers. That being said, a couple of calls that went Tulane's way could have really changed the dynamics of this game. There was a punt that one of those turnovers that led to points. There was a punt that North Texas was fielding, and I felt like he got interfered with on that fumble, and Tulane went on to score. I can't remember if they scored on that play, but they went on to score a touchdown there, and that easily could have been, in my opinion, punt interference or I don't know what you call it, punt catching interference, but wasn't called, and Tulane took advantage, scored. The other was a pick six that, when it was really super close, when the offensive guy, or not the guy that picked the ball off, was crossing the goal line, gets hit, fumbles, and it to my viewpoint, again, this call was close. I couldn't really decide which way it was. I was sort of rooting for North Texas. I don't know why. So maybe I'm biased in that sense. But I thought it was a fumble, and that was a score that should have not happened. And that's 14 points. And those were 2 crucial calls that both went for Tulane and made a difference in the game, in my opinion. Now it's interesting. Now Tulane's obviously, in my opinion, obviously in, and they go and we all know that Coach Summerall's leaving for Florida. I don't know if that impacts the chances for Tulane, but I think that I think that it definitely has an effect, and I sort of felt that on the Ohio State game. But anyway, he seems super engaged, though, so watching him on the sidelines was pretty cool. I think Tulane's going to have to play. I think they play Ole Miss in my bracket, and if that's the case, Ole Miss crushed them when they played early in the year. So that's really it's hard to beat someone that bad twice, but obviously it wasn't a very good matchup the first time. So that's an interesting matchup. Summerall leaving for Florida. Lane Kiffin already gone. We'll see how that plays out, but that's interesting. I hope that comes to fruition too. Next game, Texas Tech, BYU, we already sort of touched on that. Texas Tech pretty much dominated BYU again. And in my opinion, unfortunately, BYU's out. And in this game, it looked to me like Texas Tech's defense was super elite. They dominated, and BYU just didn't have any answer. They were by far the better team, and I don't know. I just don't think that. I don't think BYU. I don't think they can put two teams from that conference in the top 12 with all the other teams available and other commitments. And I think this was huge for Texas Tech because the difference between a 4 and a 5 seed, obviously for the bye reasons, but it'd be interesting to see. I know Texas Tech's good. I'm not trying to. My good buddy Tim Edwards, who was on here once, is a Red Raider, so I don't want to bash Texas Tech, but their strength of schedule, I think they beat West Virginia. They beat BYU twice, but I just don't feel like they've played the level of competition that's the other bye teams have. So having that bye and really having a bracket that I think they can beat anybody there with that defense, and I just feel that was huge for them. And I see them making, obviously. I think they make the Final Four. Then I don't know about the matchups. I have to see. We'll talk about that more after everything's really settled. Not my takes, but what really the people who count their takes. So we'll see how their seed or who's there in their bracket with the bye. But again, big win for the Raiders. Big deal being a number 4 seed, and I'm rooting for them. I think they are the lowest. And I shouldn't say that. I think they're the underdog of this college football playoffs. And, who doesn't like a good underdog? All right, the game that is really going to spark a lot of conversation about who's in, who's out, why and why not, is the Alabama-Georgia game. And the problem with, and obviously Georgia just crushed them and dominated in every sense. Alabama looked overmatched. They couldn't do anything offensively. They couldn't. I mean, they stopped them a few times, but it was just obvious Georgia was the much more elite team. Now, where the problem is, and I think the problem arose last week when the committee jumped Notre Dame with Alabama. And I said at that time I didn't really agree with it, and now it puts a lot of pressure on the committee to stay with Alabama. Alabama makes the SEC championship. If they would have kept that symmetry with Notre Dame and Alabama the way it was, status quo, which I thought it was, because it wasn't like Alabama went out and just rolled somebody and Notre Dame didn't win, or it just didn't make sense to me, and it still doesn't make sense to me. And now it's a real problem, in my opinion. If you already put them ahead of them before the SEC championship game, Notre Dame didn't have to play, although they really laid an egg in the SEC championship game. I won't say laid an egg. They just got their asses beat. And I don't think they can keep Alabama out now. If they do, what was the point of jumping them last week? I just jumping Notre Dame. I'm talking about. I just don't see it. So I really don't. I'm interested to see how they go. I think the committee's afraid. I'm not afraid. I think they don't. I think they've already made their mind up that Alabama was in regardless by leaping Notre Dame, when I think they should have waited to see how this SEC championship game went and then made that decision. They could have always gone back and said, it was really close. And, if Alabama would have played a really tight game with Georgia, said, hey, I just think they're better. And would have Notre Dame got crushed by Georgia? I don't know. I mean, didn't Notre Dame beat Georgia last year or something to that effect? Anyway, I just feel it's really a difficult situation. I really believe Notre Dame should be in, Alabama out, but I really feel like the committee already made that decision that Alabama's in. We'll see. And if Alabama is in, I feel like they draw Texas A&M, and I think they get beat there. So we'll see how that goes and figure out. Again, I'm excited to see how the committee puts the emphasis on that SEC game as much as they said they were going to, and all the conference games for that matter. But they should be out. Anyway, all right, the next game, Virginia-Duke. Duke throws a wrench in everything. They beat Virginia. Neither team should be in my opinion. And that's all I have to say. If they put Duke in, it's a travesty. If James Madison, because I'm assuming that if Duke is in, James Madison's out. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how that goes. But last but not least, Ohio State, Indiana. Now, Ohio State got 0 points in the fourth quarter when they were inside the red zone twice. Once they got stopped on 4th and 1 when Julian Sain just blew a quarterback sneak, just fell down. I mean, come on, dude, keep your feet. I knew that they when they were going to review it, I saw his knee go down in real time. I thought it was down. Obviously, it was a good call, and we don't score. And the next time we get down there, I couldn't believe we didn't go for it and go for the win. But that was sort of a microcosm of the whole game. I just felt like we were a little conservative, which was okay because our defense was playing great. And I feel like that opportunity to go for the win would have made a huge statement. If you lose, I mean, even if we don't get it, we pin them down there and we miss field goal anyway, so we're in the same predicament. We don't know that, obviously, but I just feel like we should have gone for that and gone for the win and be done with it. Sort of a role reversal of what Ohio State has done to other teams, Indiana did to us. They dominated the defensive line of scrimmage. Our offensive line could not protect Julian Sain. Now, Sain got a little bit, I don't say nervous, but I think he sort of, first time that I thought he really was pressured. And we see that even the good players that are super accurate and see the field and process information, when they have pressure in their face, things happen. And unfortunately, our playmakers, a couple times, I think he threw the ball a couple times into traffic, but their defense was quicker to the ball. That one interception, it looked like the throw was pretty much on target, but our receiver wasn't really coming to the ball, and the defender ran through it. But I looked at that replay, and he had, I think, the tight end with the same yardage wide open just to the right of him. Didn't see that. So throwing into coverage was a little, what's a mistake. And that's what pressure does to quarterbacks. You have to make quick decisions. And sometimes when you get pressure, you make bad, quick decisions. And Julian Sain didn't play horrible. You look at the numbers with these two teams, they were even offensively, pretty much. I mean, there wasn't, when I was watching the game, I thought we were getting like crushed on yards rushing, and it was pretty close. I think they rushed for maybe 50 more yards, 60 more yards, which is a big deal, but it wasn't like they ran it down our throats, but it sure felt like it. And I just feel like they were the better team and they deserved to win. And all this crap I hear about, well, we got out coached. Yeah, hey, Cincinnati's a good coach. So is Ryan Day. Players have to make plays. Players win games. Players lose games, unfortunately, too, sometimes. And we lost a game. We lost a game to a team that played better than us. Deal with it, Ohio State. We couldn't get pressure on Mendoza very often. I mean, we did. When I first played the game, I thought he was out. That was a huge hit. Tough dude. But man, what a weird interview at the end. I'll get into that a little bit. I have to tell everybody he is officially going to be drafted by the Browns after that interview, for sure. Anyway, so Mendoza wins the Heisman there last night, I believe, and deserves it. I think he played really good. I mean, he's good. He's good. Just don't put a mic in front of him, please. So let's see what else we got here on Ohio State. That 4th and 1 just still haunts me. I just feel like we should have really I don't know, tried to win the game there. We have nothing really to lose. I just feel like this game, and if Alabama gets in with the performance that they had, please, let's don't have any more conference championship games. They're meaningless, other than BYU, but for the most part. Now let's talk a little bit about my 12 teams. I have Notre Dame at 6. That can be Miami. If Alabama gets in, which I think they do, unfortunately, I think that Miami gets the nod over Notre Dame. So I think I just believe that. I don't think the committee will do it because I think there's a Notre Dame bias. But Miami deserves it. Head-to-head should be always and is always the first tiebreaker. We saw it on the field. Miami beat them. I know it was a home game for Miami, but it's not like it's not the old Miami where the home field advantage was something. I mean, I've been to a Miami game, and I mean, they're great fans. I like the fans. I don't want to get Miami fans mad at me, but it's not like playing at Texas Tech or playing at one of these other, like the LSU or one of these other teams where the other teams where the fans are just rabid. I mean, they're very passionate about their team in Miami, but they're fashionably late to the game, and they play in that big stadium where it has to be packed to be loud. It's just not. It's a home field advantage, yes, but not like some of the other places people play. So I think Miami should be in and Notre Dame out if Alabama's in. Now, if Alabama's out, obviously Miami and Notre Dame get in. So anyway, we'll see how that plays out. I hope that's the case. I don't know. The other thing I want to talk about is the brackets and the seeding. So Indiana obviously 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Texas Tech 4. Now, my understanding is if you're the 1 seed, you should have the easiest path to the championship game, right? I mean, that seems pretty standard. So Indiana and Texas Tech are set to meet. So Indiana should have the winner of the 7-10. Or should they have 6 and 11? I think 7 and 10. So if Indiana has the winner of the Texas A&M game, Alabama, if the Alabama's in, if not, it's Notre Dame or it's Miami. Or no, it would be Notre Dame because I think Miami gets the 9 in that scenario, and Notre Dame gets the 10. So yeah, if if that happens, that should be the bracket where then the number 2 seed should have the 5-12. The next. Wait a minute, that's not right. They should have, I'm sorry. Let's go back to this. Let's start over. The Indiana, the bracket should be 9 and whatever that is. 9 and so that should be Miami and Oklahoma. So they would have the winner of the Miami Oklahoma game. The number 2 seed should have the 7-10, the Texas A&M Alabama game. The number 3 team should have the Ole Miss, or the 6-11, which would be Ole Miss Tulane, and the number 4 seed should have the number 5 seed in their bracket, the 5-12, Oregon Texas Tech. In that scenario, I feel like Texas Tech has the best bracket. I don't know how that plays out with the committee, but Texas Tech has a pretty good run to the final four. Obviously, then you get into the top 4, and hopefully all 4 of those teams make it, and that's the way it runs out. But not necessarily. I mean, Ohio State by far has the hardest of the 2 teams. Now, if somehow Tulane beats Georgia, then I feel like that's an easier path. Alabama, if Alabama's in and Alabama would win, I like our chances against Alabama being in that bracket. Wait, is that right? Oh no, we're the Miami Oklahoma bracket. It would be the number 2, and I just feel like that's a game. I feel that's good too. I really do. But I guess we'll see. I want to see. It'll be interesting to see how they seed those, and I'll discuss more once we find out how that goes. But very, very interesting weekend. I think the committee has a lot of work to do and a lot of really explaining on not only why they're picking some of these teams, or not just some of the picks they have and why they picked some of these teams. And I would love to hear. I'd love to be in that room. That should be like a Netflix thing. I'd love to see the behind the scenes of that war room. So anyway, that's all I got for today, and hopefully that shed some of the light and gave some information on the games for people that weren't able to watch or don't care and just happen to pop in. So thanks for joining us and joining me, I should say, and we will definitely be back next week. Not sure when. Talk about once we do have these brackets finalized, they'll be analyzed and overanalyzed, and we'll have plenty of time to find out where your favorite team is going to be, what their chances are, their strengths, their weaknesses, and everything you need to know about them. So thanks for joining, and as always, be kind to one another, and please try to pick somebody up that's down. Like I said before, you never know what other people are going through. Sometimes just an acknowledgement of their presence can make a huge difference. So make sure you try to lift people up and be kind to one another. I want to thank my sponsor, the Wentz Insurance Agency, for all your insurance needs. Please call Wentz Insurance 740-653-5535. To my fellow college football playoff team that wasn't able to make it. I know Sam was at the game. Tim was busy, and both my boys, Jared and Jake, didn't respond, so I don't know what they're doing. But anyway, I miss you guys. I wish you guys would have been here to be able to talk some of this, and I know you guys like to do where Alan is right and where Alan is wrong after the Colin Cowherd podcast. So feel free to still do it. And thanks again for joining us. We'll we'll be back soon and talking more college football and talking more wellness. Thanks.